sum total of their net worth is the equity they have in their home. And to threaten that, to have it eliminate for whatever reason, they overstretched, they were led in by some unprincipled lender, they had ambitions that were bigger than they could manage. They didn't count on losing one of the jobs of one of the family members that they counted on for the income. All of those things are part of the mix. We have people who are on the edge. And to lose a home is a destabilizing reality for a family. Children who are in a home suddenly have to confront the reality they're not sure where they're going to live and have to move. We know what that means for school performance and for children's lives. And a home, as I say, and we know what it means for families' credit scores, takes years and years to recover. 7 from the effects of a foreclosure or bankruptcy. And all of this is in this mix. Keeping people in homes, on the other hand, is powerful. All of the essential dynamics of family life play out in these places we call a home. It's where a mother brings a baby home from the hospital after the baby's born, and that first night, to the smells of talcum and watches the baby falling asleep, in the home for the first time. That's what happens in a home. A year later, that little one walks across the living room floor and the whole family's cheering as the baby takes their first steps. Over time, that family gathers around the kitchen table to talk about everything from homework on a given night to what they're going to do with their weekend, free time, to how they're going to plan for college. And then one day, that young person comes running in from the mailbox with an admission to college where all of that homework and family time pays off and the family advances, first generation to go to college. These are the things, the real things that happen in these 4 walls that some people call a house, but is a home. And if we can keep people in homes, I think we're doing a great, great service to our country in terms of making it possible for people to reach their personal ambitions and to have stable family lives. Now, we know from this episode, this national turndown, that a home ownership opportunity is not for every American family. There are some who are too young and not yet at the point in their career where they can afford it. We have others who just have to improve their income circumstances before they can afford a home. So this is not about recreating the elements that brought us this crisis, but it is about saving as many American families in as stable an environment as we possibly can, impacting our communities, and in the process, building forward for our country. Again, let me just say, it won't surprise me when I read the results of this effort that Atlanta, as in so many other instances, from the civil rights movement to the Olympics to urban redevelopment in central Atlanta to Hope 6 to the airport to international trade, that Atlanta has got this right and set an example for the rest of the country. You can do it, and thank you for setting out on this course. Thank you very much. I'm told we have about 2 minutes for 2 questions. Okay, well, that's 30 minutes then, depending on my answer. I'm kidding. We'll take a couple of questions. Are there any? Yes, sir.
My name's Paul Zachas, and I'm a builder and realtor.
Yes, sir.
On the west side of town. And what the builder groups have been doing in our county is pulling together, trying to purchase these houses.
Right.
Repairing them, and then we put them back on the market. You mentioned the neighborhood in Florida that had 6 houses, 3 of them being boarded up.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues that we're having is they're making it, and these are usually cash deals, but they're making it very difficult for the builder to purchase the houses.
Who's they?
HUD or Fannie Mae, wherever the houses have been turned back.
Right.
And even though it's not a financing issue with the banks, the guys that I'm dealing with, the investors that are really good guys trying to get back into the market,
Right.
are struggling. And it all plays into what you say. The 3 people that are in that subdivision that you're talking about that are looking at the boarded up houses,
Right.
they're wondering whether they need to hand their keys back in and leave.
Right.
We got contractors ready to go to work. We just can't do it because you got to wait 15 days before you
Sure.
get an investor.
Well, you know, I don't know the specifics of your situation, but I do know that all of the elements are there. The people are available who can fix this problem if we can get everybody working together and back it by the concerted force of the region, its leaders, to go to Fannie and Freddie and unleash some of the specific initiatives on a pilot basis, you know, a given initiative, or go to HUD and FHA and get an initiative. Look, HUD, Fannie, Freddie want to solve this problem. They're looking for competent people with a concerted plan to get this done. So even though you might not solve a national problem, you can go and ask for a pilot initiative or a special program or something to, you know, get this done. You can't do it as a builder by yourself, but backed by an effort like this, I think some extraordinary things can be done. You can do regional approaches to working with banks and to get some of the property that they have, and there's just critical tiny pieces that are missing sometimes in a solution, and it's a matter of trying to get that unleashed. There are national organizations. You can also borrow, by the way, from individual efforts. A group called NACA, Neighborhood Association. What is it called? National NACA. They're going around the country resolving, you know, bank relationships and bringing their power to bear on this. Very effective, very effective. They're out of Boston. There's another group in North Carolina that's working across the country. So there are bits and pieces that can be assembled of things that have worked in other places. Nobody has done the overarching thing that you're talking about. Set large commitments, set large goals. That's what I think is unique here, and applaud. And in that is the power to take this to a larger scale. Does that answer your question? All right. By the way, my own company's had some experience in Atlanta here. We have funded 3 or 4 developments in the Atlanta area, and have some of them are continuing to do well, but we've lost a couple because of the housing turndown here. We teamed up with a builder named Sharon McSwain, who I think ran into some severe trouble. So I'm not naive about the significance of the problem here or how it's played out on the ground. I've seen the good. I've also seen the bad. Yes, sir.
Good morning. Is the mic on?
You're on.
Okay. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. You mentioned that you have seen different nonprofits and private groups do an excellent job at purchasing and rehabbing across the country. But I noticed you said that you have not seen anyone do it on a scale.
Correct.
Can you kind of describe in your mind what you're looking at?
Well, what I meant by that is that I have seen, for example, using CDBG money or other home money or NSP money, the funding of an individual high-quality nonprofit. In San Antonio, for example, there's something called Alternative Housing of San Antonio. And they were the best producer of affordable housing before the crisis, and they have been the best at finding individual houses and fixing them and sticking with it. But it's a drop in the bucket. It's one house at a time, maybe 20 houses in a year, and that's just not up to the scale of the problem, which is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of houses. And you know, I mean, in one sense, it's understandable because we weren't set up as a country to do this, right? And so our financial systems, our municipal oversight systems, our nonprofit housers are not in that business. They're not set up to do it. But by now, you would think, by now, we're 2 years well into this, there would be a place that had put together a coordinated response, but I haven't seen it. I look at places like Modesto, California, which was at the epicenter in what's called the Central Valley of California. New York Times wrote about it as the worst mismatch between economic circumstances and the housing problem. Places like Las Vegas, the number of foreclosures is immense. Florida, whole communities in desperate circumstances. You would think by now that there would have been some place where we put together an overarching response. Again, I haven't seen it. It's hard to do. We're finding individual houses, maybe small groups of houses, maybe a nonprofit that can do several dozen, but nobody creating kind of a war room, a master strategy, a coordinated response that says, here's a map of the city, this is the blocks, this is where the foreclosures are or the greatest danger is, and we're making a difference that begins to show up on a block basis, on a neighborhood basis, stabilizing and coming. I haven't seen that approach, and I don't know whether that'll be an element of what you do here, but you got the right people in the room with 115 players and the right kind of commitment level. This potentially is going to require some expense on the part of public agencies, have to put some money into this, like NSP money, in more effective and targeted ways. And also it's going to require systems to stick with this, to coordinate. It's going to require staying power to stay with it, because you can't do this on a 1 month or a 6 month or a 1 year basis. We've got multiple years ahead of us yet. Reporter just asked me, how long will this take to work? And I don't see anything less than a couple of years of all-out effort to work our way through this. The scale has just been too large in the impact. But it can be done. I am convinced of that. And what you've started here moves in the right direction. This gentleman understood that I could only take 2 questions, but he's come to the mic anyway. So we're going to take his question and answer it quickly.
I missed that you could only take 2 questions. I'm Bill Basil. I've been a mortgage lender for the last 7 years in Atlanta, mid-sized mortgage banker. Has there ever been any talk about the fact that it's very, very difficult to modify a bad deal? So here we have a borrower that was given the opportunity to buy a house that was way beyond his means. He didn't have to state his income. He didn't have any assets, but it all was all fine. So now he's in this house, and we want to keep him in that house, okay? But the fact is, that house is too expensive for him. He has bought a house that is just too expensive, and there's no way he can maintain it. He can't make the payment on it. He does have a job, and there is some place in this world that he can exist. Is there any thought, anybody ever talked about taking that mortgage, that pledge, and then moving the collateral? Simply moving the collateral, giving him credit to go and buy, and be a buyer.
I have heard of strategies like that, and I've heard of short sale strategies where the banks actually encourage a short sale, selling for less than the value, in order to deal with the problem and be able to move on.
But if you do that, if you do a short sale, then you devalued the property. That property just sold. I'm in a market value appraisal. I'm saying, hey, how much is this house worth? Are they selling for 40 cents on the dollar, 60 cents?
No, I think
what is it?
I think you have something that's worth.
This way, the man would be able to survive. He'd have to get he wouldn't live on the same street. He wouldn't have the same subdivision nuance. But then with the Home Depot, he could have a finished new house, or at least new appliances, the roof's fixed. He's moved down. Yes, he's moved down, but it's right for him to have moved down because he got to buy up.
I think you got to,
and that was a problem.
I mean, yes, I have heard of. I've heard that idea, but not executed. But what I would say is, in addition to the points that I mentioned earlier about a system and a war room and sticking with it and an overarching system of coordination, is you're going to have to also think outside the box.